Welcome to the Bettendorf Public Library's Take-Home Workshop. Today, we're making macrame leaf bracelets just in time for fall. In your kit, you will find a length of cord. This is 1 millimeter macrame cord. It's a nice harvest gold yellow, and you have about 10 yards here. That's what's in your kit. It's a pretty simple bracelet. The only thing you're going to need to supply is a way to affix your bracelet to your workspace as you're knotting it. You can use, like, if you have a cork board and pins, that works. I'm just going to be using regular masking tape, and I'll be taping it down to my surface. The other thing you'll need to supply is a pair of scissors, and that's it. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you'll be doing is cutting your cord into 8 sections. So we're going to have 8 sections that are about 45 inches each. So I'm going to take this tangled mess, I'm going to untangle it, I'm going to cut it in half, cut those 2 pieces in half again, and then cut those in half again. And so I will end up with 8 evenly length, all the same length pieces of cord. Okay, now that I have 8 pieces that are the same length, I'm going to put a little knot in one end. Not even that little, but this is going to be the toggle, part of the toggle on our bracelet. At the other end we'll have a loop, and this knot will go through the loop, and that's how we'll keep our bracelet on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to braid a very short section, maybe ½ inch, to give it the little play between the knot and the bracelet, between the toggle and the bracelet. So I'm going to start with my tape. I'm just going to tape this down. Now when you're braiding, you usually braid with 3 preferably even-sized sections, right? But we don't have an even a number of things. We have 8, or we don't have a number that's divisible by 3. We have 8. So I'm doing 3 strands and 3 strands and 2. And I'm just going to braid maybe ½ inch, ¼ inch, not very much. You don't actually have to do this step, because another alternative for keeping the bracelet on would be just to tie it on like you would a friendship bracelet, so that's an option too. So I'm just going to do just that much. Just a little bit there. And keeping that snug, I'm going to take another piece of tape and tape that down as well. And I really don't want this to move. So I'm going to be very thorough with my tape and tape the whole shebang. I just find that it makes it much, much easier if your cords are steady. So now I'm going to take these 8 cords and I'm going to spread them out. So they're laying kind of flat. They won't lay completely flat because they're not flat under my tape here, but they're kind of get them in an order that makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to take 3 of my strands, take them off to the right, and just leave those there for now. To make your leaf bracelet, it's basically the same repetitive knot over and over and over again. It just depends on which side of your leaf you're doing. So for this first leaf, I'm going to take this rightmost cord, and that's going to be like our base cord. And we're going to knot these cords onto this one, just a little row of knots. So I'm going to pull this whole strand off to the left like that. Okay, so I have 1 off to the left, I have 4 down, and then one at a time, get my tails undone, I'm going to take these, I'm going to take the end of this cord, I'm going to take it over my anchor cord, and then bring the tail up through that loop, and then just make it snug. And I'm going to do that twice. Over, up through the loop, and snug. We're going to leave that cord off to the right. I'm going to take the next cord in line, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go over my anchor cord, bring it up through the loop, and pull that tight. And you'll see that this knot is just going to slide across our anchor cord and butt up right against our other knots. And I'm going to do that 2 times. So it's always 2 knots per cord. Set that to us off to the side and repeat. Bring my end up over the anchor cord, through the hoop, the loop, and snug it right alongside those other knots. I find if you pull them too tight, they tend to start slipping and sliding and covering each other up. So you want them to be snug, but not too tight. And so long as you maintain this anchor cord, good tension out to the side like that, you should have no problem just sliding these knots right up alongside. So that's the first part here. Now I'm going to take these cords, I'm going to take those out to the left. One, two, three, four, five. Now, this far most right cord that we've already knotted, I'm going to take 4 of them. I'm going to take them off to the left. This is going to be our new anchor cord for this first leaf. So I'm going to take this, and I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm going to bring these down. I'm going to take this as our anchor cord, bring it off to the side, and then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just doing it out to the right. So I have the end, I'm taking it over our anchor cord and bringing it up through the hoop. And again, just sliding it right along that cord so it's in there nice and snug. Okay? 1, 2, and then the same thing with the next cord, over our anchor cord, up through the loop, and you just snug that right along next to the previous ones. And then again with the last. So now I have 2 ribs in my leaves. Now, going forward, we're basically repeating this over and over again, but going forward, we're only going to do it with 4 cords on the left and 4 cords on the right. So that's just one slight difference. On our first row, we did 5 cords to the left, and that was to kind of start our leaf, hold them together. But from here on in, we're going to do 4 cords on the left, 4 cords on the right, and we're going to do the exact same thing. So we're going to take our center cord, we're going to hold that out to the left. Now this time, I'm actually going to tape this down, and I do that for a couple reasons. 1, so that my fingers will be less in the way so you can see what's happening. But 2, if you can tape this down, that gives you the ability to manipulate these knots with both hands. I find that helpful. So We have our center cord, our anchor cord, taped down to the left. We're going to take the rightmost knotting cord, and we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to bring the end up. It's going to go under the anchor cord, and we're going to pull that tight and snugly on our anchor cord. 1, 2. So that our knots are right next to each other there. Set that cord aside, pick up our next knotting cord, bring it under our anchor cord, snugging those knots against each other, just sliding them along the anchor cord. And then the last one, we do the same thing 2 times. And there's the second rib of our leaf. Now we're going to repeat that on the right hand side. I'm going to take the center cord. That's going to be our new anchor cord. I'm going to take it to the side, and I am in fact going to tape it down just to give me the ability to use both my hands. And I'm going to do the same thing again. We're going to keep doing this until we have 4 ribs, 4 rows of knots on either side. And that will be the basic components to our first leaf. Now that we have 4 rows of knots on either side, it's time to make our leaf. So we're going to take our 4 strands down from either side and lay them flat, and we're going to take the outer strands and bring them together, and you can probably already see how this is going to work. Once we get those snugged up together, it makes a leaf shape. So we're just going to take those 2 outer strands and we're going to knot them together. And it's just a simple square knot. All of this does get easier, by the way, as you go on and your strands get shorter. So we're going to kind of pull those down. And again, if this is a situation where you want to tape those, if it's easier, go right ahead. But we're just going to snug that up. And then square knot again. And we have our first leaf. Now, those 2 strands that made our knot, those are our new center strands. So we're going to have to figure out which of this spaghetti goes on which side. I'm going to undo my tape here for a second and flip it over, and you can see how it looks from the back. So here are our 2 center cords that we used to tie the knot, and we've got 3 coming off the left and 3 coming off the right. Now, if we want to, we can just flip that over right now and keep going with those. But you have an option here. It makes it a little more complicated, but I think it gives our leaf a little bit more structure. I'm going to bring these strings over to the other side, and I'm going to alternate. So I'm going to take the top one from the left and bring it over to the right, and the top one from the right and bring it over to the left, and then work my way down that way. The middle one, left to right, middle one, right to left, bottom one, left to right, bottom one, right to left. And see how that kind of solid brings the bottom of our leaf more solidly together. So then kind of holding that in place with my thumb, I'm going to just flip that whole thing over. I'm going to tape this down again. Again, I like to really tape it down, really get it on there nice and solid. So I have my 2 center cords that made the knot at the bottom of my leaf, and then the 3 cords on either side. I took the ones from the right, brought them to the left, and the ones from the left and brought them to the right, and it just gives us a little bit more structure there. So now we have 4 on each side again, and we're just going back to our knotting. So we're going to take our anchor cord, we're going to bring it off to the left. I'm going to tape that one down because I find that easier. And then again, I'm going to do 2 knots per knotting cord, working from the inside out, and just slide them along that cord. I'm going to keep going along that way till I get a whole nother leaf. So 4 rows of knots per side. Then I'm going to take 2 outer strands, tie them together, and repeat this whole process right down until I have enough leaves that it'll make it around my wrist. So I have my bracelet to the length that I want, and now I'm going to put a loop at the bottom here. I have finished this leaf off just like I finished off the rest of them. I'm going to put a loop down here, and that's what this knot at the top is going to go through as a clasp. Again, if you want, you can just leave some string here and then you can just tie it on like a friendship bracelet. We're going to do it a little bit different. So I have my finished leaf here, just like all the rest of them. And again, I'm going to tape down my bracelet. As I was making leaves, I just kept bringing the tape down, down, down to hold it immobile. And again, I'm going to divide this 4 and 4, and I'm going to braid these. Now, again, I don't have a number of strands that is divisible by 3, so I'm going to do 1 strand on the outside, 1 strand on the inside, and then just 2 in the middle. And I'm just going to braid those by alternating, taking whichever is on the outside and moving it to the inside. Back and forth like that. And I'm not going to need a whole lot. So when I get it the length that I want, not very long, I'm just going to take that to the side, tape it down. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, so then, actually, let me tape these down for a second. I'm going to trim these tails off just because they are longer than I need them to be, and they'll just be getting in my way. And I'll trim them down a little bit more, but that's just a little bit shorter for now. I'm going to take these 2 and I'm going to bring them up. And again, I'm just going to take these 2 braided sections and I'm going to make a square knot so that there's a loop there that's just big enough for our knot to fit in. So that looks about right to me. Make that nice and tight, and then bring that around, and it'll just slide on through, just like that. And there you have it. That is a lovely leaf motif bracelet that you macrameed just in time for fall. Send us photos of your bracelets to our social media, and as always, we want to thank the Bettendorf Public Library Foundation and Quad City Bank and Trust for sponsoring this take-home workshop.